Why Anansi has a small waist? Long, long ago, in the early days of the world, before roads were carved into the earth, before stories were written down, when animals spoke like humans, and wisdom was passed from mouth to ear beneath the moonlight, there lived a spider named Anansi. He lived in a small hut at the edge of the village, where the grass grew thick and the evenings were quiet. His web glistened in the early mornings, catching dew like silver beads, and the villagers often saw him sitting nearby, watching, listening, thinking. Anansi was known across the land, not for strength, not for kindness, but for cleverness. Some said Anansi's mind was sharper than a hunter's spear. Others said his cleverness was dangerous because Anansi did not always use it for good. He could twist words like silk thread and spin ideas faster than anyone could follow. And it was also well known that Anansi loved food more than almost anything else in the world. He loved rich palm oil stew, red and shining in the pot. He loved soft fufu, warm in the hands, roasted yams with crisp edges, ripe plantains, sweet and golden, fruits so full of juice that it ran down the chin. When others ate until they were satisfied, Anansi ate until there was nothing left. And when there was nothing left, he wished there had been more. While the other animals worked in their farms or hunted in the forest, Anansi preferred to sit quietly and think. He watched antelope run the fields, elephant haul heavy loads, and tortoise plod patiently from place to place. Why struggle? Anansi would mutter to himself. Thinking is easier than working. A clever idea can feed a man better than hard labor. And so he thought, and waited. One hot afternoon, Anansi sat outside his small hut, rubbing his stomach and watching smoke rise from cooking fires across the village. The air shimmered with heat. The scent of stews and roasting food drifted toward him on the breeze. His stomach growled loudly. He looked left, he looked right. Everywhere people were eating. Anansi sighed. Everyone is always eating. But why should I eat only once, like a foolish creature, when my mind is far greater than that? He leaned back and closed his eyes. And as he sat there, an idea slowly formed in his head, curling, stretching, shining like a spider's web, catching the sun. Anansi smiled, and whenever Anansi smiled like that, trouble was close behind. That very evening, Anansi set out across the village. He walked with light steps and an easy laugh, greeting everyone warmly, bowing low, speaking in the soft, respectful voice people trusted. First he met Tortoise, slow and steady as ever. "My dear friend," Anansi said sweetly, "tomorrow I am preparing a very special meal. Please honor me by coming to eat with me in the morning." Tortoise smiled and nodded. "I will come." Next, Anansi visited Antelope, quick and cheerful. "My friend," Anansi said, placing a hand over his heart, "come and share a feast with me tomorrow at midday." Antelope clapped his hands with delight. "I will be there." Then Anansi found Monkey swinging through the trees and invited him to come in the evening when the sun began to sink and the air grew cool. After that, Anansi crept quietly to Leopard, whispering his invitation in a low voice. "Come late at night," Anansi said, "when the moon is high and the village is quiet." Leopard's eyes gleamed in the dark. "I will come." To each one Anansi spoke kindly. To each one he promised good food, and to each one he gave a different time. When Anansi finally returned home, the moon was already rising. He shut his door and laughed so hard his sides shook. "Tomorrow," he said, wiping his eyes, "I will eat many times while everyone else eats only once." He patted his belly and grinned. "Truly, I am the cleverest creature alive." The next morning, before the sun climbed high, Anansi prepared his plan carefully. He tied a long, strong rope tightly around his waist. He pulled it snug, tight but not too tight. One end of the rope he fastened securely to his cooking pot at home. The rope was long enough to allow him to walk about, but short enough to pull him back if he went too far. Anansi nodded in satisfaction. Now, he said, nothing can stop me. Soon the first guest arrived. Anansi welcomed him warmly and served the food. The pot steamed. The smell was rich and inviting. Anansi ate quickly, stuffing his mouth, chewing fast, hardly stopping to breathe. Just as his stomach began to feel full, the rope suddenly pulled tight around his waist. Anansi gasped. "Oh no," he cried, "my pot! It will boil over." He leapt up and ran home as fast as his legs could carry him. Before his stomach could rest, the next guest arrived. Again Anansi smiled. Again he served the food. Again he ate more than his share. And again the rope pulled tight. Harder this time. "The pot!" Anansi shouted, clutching his waist and running away. By evening, Anansi's stomach was heavy, but his greed was heavier. When the next guest arrived, Anansi could barely sit. Sweat formed on his face as he ate. The rope pressed deep into his body now, biting into his waist. He winced, but he did not stop. "One more meal," he whispered, "just one more." When night fell and the final guest arrived, Anansi's breath was short. His belly was round and tight. The rope burned against his waist like fire. Still he ate. Suddenly the rope snapped. Anansi was thrown backward, rolling across the ground with a loud cry. He clutched his stomach and screamed in pain. The rope had squeezed his waist so tightly that it became thin and narrow like the stem of a calabash. The noise drew the villagers from their huts. They gathered around Anansi and saw what had happened. No one rushed to help him. They had seen his trick clearly. Elephant shook his head slowly. Monkey laughed aloud. Tortoise smiled and said nothing. Anansi lay there, groaning, ashamed and sore. From that day on, no matter how much food he ate, his waist never grew large again. It remained small, tight, unchanging, a reminder of his greed. And that is why, even today, Anansi the spider has a small waist. It is a lesson passed from elders to children, from storytellers to listeners, that greed tightens like a rope, that cleverness without wisdom brings pain, and that those who try to take more than their share often lose what they already have. And so the story ends. But the lesson remains. If you like this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until the next story, be well.